It has very little to do with that. That doesn't have to do with whether their dad was a SEAL or there's a background in that. The only thing they've ever found that measures it with any accuracy at all is their grit, how determined they are. They measure how determined they are to become a SEAL. And they run them through scenarios like, so your arm is broken and you're a half a mile out to sea and they see that your arm is broken and they come to pick you up. Do you get in the boat or do you swim to shore with one arm? Or those kind of things. What do? And they run them through a bunch of those kind of scenarios, and then they measure how determined they are to become a SEAL, and that they're getting like 70% accuracy based on just those battery of grit tests. And nothing else did any accuracy whatsoever. And now they're getting up to 70%. They can tell ahead of time who's going to make it based on those results. And we're now learning that you look at people who are successful in life, it has very often very little to do with how smart they are, or who they know, or what they know, or even how much resources they have. It has to do with how determined they are. I'm going to do this no matter what. Period. All right, so we'll talk about more of that in a minute. And then the other thing that to me is important to really create a greater mindset is choosing joy in every circumstance. It keeps victims from hurting you. When you decide to be a joyful person, it doesn't matter what others do. It doesn't matter. That's why there's so many stories about people being, taken prisoner of war and about to be killed for whatever, and they have joy. And for me, this is a faith component, but it's also something that you can choose to do in your everyday life. So let's look at the details of it. We got to move quickly here. So here's some starter steps. This is what you can do if you want to develop grit. This is by no means the be-all, end-all, but this will get you started. If you want to go do some more research, that's for another day. But here's 3 starter steps. Number 1, set difficult goals. Not easy goals. Not short-term goals. Studies show that people who set difficult goals are the most likely to complete them. People who set so-so goals usually don't rise to meet. So example, if you going into college, you set the goal, I want to be a 4.0 student. Or if you set the goal, I want to be a 3.0 student. Which one's a harder goal? 4.0, right? You're more likely if you set the 4.0 goal to reach it than you are to reach the 3.0. Set difficult goals. That's an important thing for grit. Is choose to do something hard. Choose to be the very best, which I think ties into the next one, and that is stop being dependable. This one hurts me because I tend to be a dependable person. You're counting on me, I better be there. This is one I'm struggling with. Now, it doesn't mean become undependable. It's just if you behave, if you accomplish things by, well, they're counting on me, I got to do it, you will never develop full grit. Instead, be extraordinary. I'm going to be the best at this that I can be. You just want this, I'm going to give you this. Now, let me give you an example from my own life, using this very presentation. Have you enjoyed the clip art so far? Has it been thoughtful and fun? And does it connect with each one of my points? A year ago, I wouldn't have spent 2 minutes developing clip art for this presentation. 1 year ago. If you go back, some of you have seen me present before, I was all about the information, and I wasn't about being extraordinary. And one of the minor tweaks from this material that I've made is I want to spend a lot of time finding just the right idea that communicates the thought behind what I'm trying to say. Now, is this turtle gritty? Does it set long-term goals? Does that convey the idea of long-term goals? Is that an extraordinary turtle that's running? You see? And I got one more, it fits that one as well. But that's a small thing, isn't it? That's a little thing, but that little difference is the difference between just being dependable, yeah, Judy, I'll be here, I'll do something, and being extraordinary. So be an extraordinary person. Now, sometimes I know, whatever it is you do, you may be told just be dependable. Accept that with a smile, and then do beyond that. Go beyond. So all the research says that that's what makes people gritty, is they're extraordinary. They're achievement-oriented is their terminology they use as well. What do you want to achieve? One of my favorite stories is of Lou Holtz, the football coach. He had a moment in time where kind of an accidental serendipity is what I call them. Providential is another term that I like. Early on in his career, he's a young 20-something-year-old coach, football coach. His goal is, I just want to coach football. And he was so excited he got offered his first job at the University of South Carolina as a football coach. And he and his wife drove there, interviewed, got the job. They took their entire life savings, $500, and put a down payment on a house, their first house. They got in the car and they drove back to Notre Dame, where he had been a grad student at Notre Dame. And when they got back home, they turned on their TV to find out University of South Carolina's football coach had just been fired and all of his staff, which meant him. And he immediately went into this funk. He's like, oh, my life's over. This is horrible. We lost our life savings on a house, down payment. Now I lost my job, and no one's going to hire me because I worked there, and they're going to see that I was fired, and even though I never worked a day, and he just whined for days. And finally, his wife had enough. She said, Lou, I'm tired of you whining. Go in that room and sit down, and I want you to spend as long as it takes to write down everything you want to accomplish the rest of your life. And Lou tells a story about going in there, and he said, I sat down for a while. I was like, no. But eventually he said, you know what? I'm going to go for it. If I could do anything and everything in my life I ever wanted to do, I'm going to write it down. He started writing. 107 things later, he came out, gave the list to his wife. She read it and went, wow, I didn't know you wanted to do some of these things. Here were some of the things on his list. I want to be a head football coach. I want to be the head football coach of Notre Dame. I want to win a national championship. I want to have dinner at the White House. I want to be on the Tonight Show with Jack Parr. Now that was when Jack Parr was the host of the Tonight Show. I want to be on the Tonight Show with Jack Parr. And so those were 5 of his things, and he went on and on and on and on. But those were just 5. Fast forward 50 years later, he's done 103 of the 107 things on his bucket list, including all of those things I just mentioned. Including not only was he head football coach of Notre Dame, that's where he won his national championship. That's how powerful long-term goals and being extraordinary is. When you set those, it's amazing. When you're one of my long-term goals, it's new for me, newly formulated. I believe that we're at the beginning of a new, incredible revival of marriage in our culture. I teach a lot of young students about relationships, and they are angry at our culture because there is an innate desire in most human beings to have a lifetime partner. We desire it, we crave it. And I'm encountering students that are angry that our society has changed so much that they don't feel like that's in reach for them. Now, that's really important. You're not here to say, I want to go back to the good old days. You can't go back. Remember, that's part of this. I don't have time to blame what happened. I can tell you what happened, but I'm not going to blame for what happened. It happened. But I can tell you now, is that a crazy goal? You're saying no, but what can I do about that? I don't know. I'll find out. I'm writing books, I'm writing articles, I'm doing all kinds of stuff. But, that's just one of my bucket list things. It's like, what if I could have a hand in creating the right atmosphere for that to happen? Pretty cool. By the way, this isn't saying it means everybody has to get married. It's not. Here's what's funny about statistics. We're at the lowest marriage rate in the history of statistics of marriage. Fewer people right now will get married than any other generation in America. And it's the ebb is the lowest, right? Guess what? If you're 18 years old and you live an average lifespan, what are the odds you're going to get married in your lifetime? You know what the statistic is? Oh, in the mid-70s, it's all-time high, 96%. The mid-70s, if you became an adult in the mid-70s,